The Tuesday, January 6th, 2026 public meeting of the Bolton Conservation Commission pursuant to the amendment of Bill 3548 and Governor Healy signing such amendments into law in March 2023, expressing certain provisions of the open meeting law. This public meeting of the Town of Bolton Conservation Commission is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but the public can access this meeting while in progress by Zoom video communications. Members of the public attending this meeting virtually will be allowed to make comments if they wish to do so during the portion of the hearing designated for public comment by telephone, cell phone, or personal computer using Zoom. Guidelines for participants: utilize the chat or raised hand function to address the board. Remain on mute until you've been addressed by the board chair, and participants are required to display their first and last names. For tradition, we will start with a roll call of present commission members, starting with me, Jim Garrity.
Sue Mitra.
Laura Stevenson.
Scott Gear.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, first hearing, the Bolton Conservation Commission will continue the public hearing regarding the request for determination of applicability under provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and under the Bolton Wetland Bylaw, Chapter 233 for 113 Burnham Road, Map 5D, Parcel 39. Hi, Paul.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening. So before we start, so we did do a site visit. Myself, Sue, Rebecca, and Lauren, along with Paul and the applicant, were at the site. We reviewed the 17 trees. We walked around and reviewed all of them to determine which ones should be cut down, which shouldn't be cut down. The criteria that we used was basically, are the trees that are proposed to be cut down, will they hit the house if they did indeed fall down? So that's the criteria that we used when we walked around reviewing the trees to cut down. So Paul, let me turn it over to you. I know that you had submitted a kind of follow-up memo to Rebecca. If you could,
I did. If you don't mind if I share, Mr. Chairman.
Sure, thank you.
Where am I? Pardon me, I can't seem to get it to share to the right.
Yeah, we see your Zoom browser.
Yeah, sorry. That's my USGS. Shoot. I'm going to stop and start again if I may.
Okay. If you want, I can bring it up if you want, Paul. We can give it another shot. If you can, I'll see if I can bring it up.
There we go. Are you seeing that table?
I'm not seeing anything yet. There we go. We see the locus. We see that this is the locus.
I don't know why. Shoot. All right, maybe, Mr. Chairman, if rather than waste your time, if you could bring that up, I'd appreciate it. So basically, while he's doing that, I'll explain. Rebecca had sent a site visit memo, I guess she called it site visit report, and I think it's fair to say agreed with most, agreed with most of the proposal. She had recommended that 3 trees be cut as snags, but didn't specify a height. And she had also recommended that 3 trees not be cut at all. Mr. Chairman, if I could ask you to go to the second page. Thank you. So I've highlighted the 3 trees that she proposed as no cut, and also listed what I did for the 3 trees where Rebecca had recommended they be cut as snags. As I said, she didn't excuse me, she didn't specify a proposed height. So what I did was go back to the site and I measured the offset from the house to those trees. And basically what I'm proposing is that for the recommended snags, that they be cut just a foot or so below the offset distance to the house. Again, just wanting to go and make that clear for everybody that that's what's proposed. So there's no misunderstanding about expectations. So I don't expect that would be any heartburn to the commission. What I've also done is in yellow, I've highlighted the 3 trees that Rebecca had recommended stay as what I'm calling a no cut. And when I went out and measured the offset to the trees, I also measured these ones. Mr. Nani remains concerned. He's seen that trees come down in the neighborhood. So what I'm proposing for those 3 trees, which I've highlighted here, is again that rather than be a no cut, they be cut fairly high. Again, just a foot or so below the offset distance, which I just, I pulled tapes with having Mr. Nani's help holding on the house, pulled a tape to the trees. So he had asked that I make that alternative proposal to the commission. So the first 3 where I have the distances, those are consistent with Rebecca's recommendation, just specifying a height. These 3 trees that I've highlighted would deviate from Rebecca's recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think there's a couple other recommendations, Paul. Let me go through. So tree 10, we're suggesting that be left whole in the existing condition on site. So
That's right. That's why, yeah, 10 I have listed as a Concom agent recommendation, no cut. That the alternative proposal is that we cut at 29 feet.
Yeah, we're saying no, that needs to stay whole in its entirety for 10.
Okay.
And then for trees 4 and 7, where you were gonna leave so trees 4, 7, I'm trying to see what trees 4, 7. So you're saying 4, 7 is snags, right? So the recommendation on that is you can leave it as a snag, or you can cut those, you can flush cut those.
Okay.
That's your choice on how you want to do that.
Okay.
Jim?
Yeah.
Did I hear you right? Like, I thought Rebecca's recommendation was not to cut 4 and 7.
No, she's okay with that. Further discussions.
Okay.
She had with Paul. So.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
can we have a discussion as the commission? Because you're saying the commission has agreed to things, Jim, and we have not had a conversation.
I'm going to open it up to the.
Okay.
I'm going to open it up to the commission.
Okay, but when you say things that the commission is recommending, I don't think that's an accurate statement because the commission hasn't had an opportunity to discuss this.
My apologies. My recommendation. So let me open it up to the commission right now for comments.
So can I go first since I was
Sure.
off mute? All right. So I was not able to attend the site visit. I was out of state dealing with a family emergency, so I apologize. What I do know that we have a sworn affidavit from an arborist that identified the trees 4, 7, and 10 that are being recommended as no cut as being potentially a danger to the home. So I'm just not sure what the rationale was made by the commission, who's not arborists, to determine that those trees were not indeed and would never hit the house. So can someone enlighten me on that, please?
So let's talk, I'm a little confused, Scott. So
Okay.
let's talk with number 4 specifically.
Okay.
So the proposed was to cut it,
Yep.
right? And what Paul is saying is that he went out and measured and
Mhm.
said, yeah, we're gonna cut it, but we're gonna leave a snag of 32 feet.
Well, that's what he's asking. That's
Yeah.
accurate.
Yep. So what's the
And
question?
so the conservation agent recommendation based on this identifies number 4 as a no cut. So my question is, what did we use as the commission to come up with a justification for a no cut? Because is it the tree 20 feet tall and it's 40 feet away from the house? I'm just not sure how we're determining whether or not it's a risk to the homeowner who has already had a tree almost hit their house. So I understand their concerns. So are we saying that we're okay with them cutting it now? Because that's not what the recommendation was. And that's not what I thought you read.
So what I'm reading is that it's, I believe, Paul, number 4, that the conservation agent's recommendation, and I am following the conservation agent's recommendation, is to cut it, that they're allowed to cut it. And what Paul is saying is that he went out and measured the height of the tree, right? And he's going to leave it as a snag.
But
And he's
Jim,
gonna cut
the recommendation is no cut.
Am I reading this right, Paul?
Hi, Jim.
Well, I
Do
think-
you
I
mind
think-
if I jump in?
Yeah,
I just
go ahead,
want to
Mike.
make a clarification. So, Rebecca had submitted the site visit report, and these were her recommendations. To your point, Scott, her recommendation was no cut. When Paul submitted his new proposal, we had just received this chart this morning. So this is now this is new information that
Mhm.
we haven't received. So yes, this is up to the commission to now discuss. So I think that there is some miscommunication with that. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah,
Mm,
Mr.
thank you.
Chairman, let me also, just to be clear, my notes from a minute ago, my understanding was that based upon further consideration, Rebecca was okay with 4 and 7 being cut as snags, but not 10.
Correct.
That's my notes. Okay,
That's correct. Right,
so-
that's
so I
Rebecca's
guess-
recommendation. Right.
So in terms of Rebecca's recommendation, and I'm inferring yours as well, is
Sure.
that 4 and 7, you're agreeable to my, I'll call it supplemental proposal, except for number 10.
Correct.
Okay,
And then one step further, on 4 and 7, that you can flush cut those if you want. That's your choice. So you
Got
can
it.
do either, or you can leave it as a snag at 32 feet, or you can flush cut that. for those
Understood.
Particular trees.
Okay, then I just have just a follow on then, rather than discussing 4 and 7, because that seems to be settled. Where 10 is being still recommended by the conservation agent as a no cut. So again, I go back to my original question is, what was the rationale for why this is listed as a no cut? How did we determine on a site visit
Yes,
that tree was not a potential risk to the home?
correct. That it was leaning away from the house. Right, and that's some of the other, so we're not looking at cutting all 17. There's a couple that we're also going to leave up. And it's because those are not in danger of hitting the house if they did come down. They were leaning away from the house. Does that make sense?
No, my understanding that the only thing that's not being cut from what was in the original recommendation is number 10.
No.
Am I wrong?
no, that is the proposal at this point.
So we're saying the only one that's not being cut is number 10.
That's my understanding of what I'll call Rebecca's revised recommendation. Is that accurate, Lauren? As far as you know?
Yes, because in her report, so she had only called out those specific numbers that we went over and noted that any trees not directly called out as part of her recommendation would defer to your existing plan. So all of those other trees would be included still for removal.
Thanks.
Yep.
So let me just try and say, I think to Scott's point. So Lauren, is it fair to say the way we interpret all of this is that all the trees can be cut down? Some of them have snags, some of them don't, but the only tree that will remain is number 10. Is that a fair
That is
statement?
my understanding.
Likewise.
Okay. Okay.
Paul, how far is number 10 from the house?
I have it as 30 feet, and I'm proposing to cut it 29 feet up.
And how tall is the tree?
I
Roughly?
don't know. I did not measure the height.
Do we think it's greater than 30 feet?
Oh, yeah, certainly.
So is this commission willing to take on the liability that should this house decide to fall in the direction of the home, that we're going to take liability for the damage to the home and potentially damage to individuals because we're making a judgment call that the tree is not a danger?
Well, I don't think we are liable for that, number one. And number two, that's why Paul is saying he's going to cut it lower than the offset. So if it does
Which
fall,
he's
it's
not
gonna
allowed,
hit.
but Sue, he's not allowed to touch number 10.
This is not, we're talking about number 10.
10 is a no touch.
Okay, I
Right.
mean, so then,
So we're,
I
so
mean-
what we're doing is then we're making a decision that's going to have potentially have property and life impact and take zero responsibility for the consequences.
No, that's
mean-
ridiculous. That's
Is it?
absolutely ridiculous. That's why you
Yeah.
have homeowners insurance, right?
Yeah,
If they never
also-
came in front of the commission, you still run the same risk.
If they didn't
Well,
come in front of the commission, they would cut the tree down to avoid the risk.
No, you can't cut the tree down. It's in the buffer zone.
I gotcha. And so we're making the decision that keeping that tree at its existing height is more important than the well-being, mental and physical of the homeowner.
yes,
I'd like to add another piece of information. The tree is a red maple, and red maples are known for having a lot of sprout growth. And I have every expectation that this tree would be very much alive, being cut
Mhm.
that high, and that it would get multiple shoots coming up from the top. So and the canopy would be replaced. It would be, again, up higher, but those for a long time would be very, very small, thin shoots. So I don't think I'm, as I said, very confident that tree would continue to thrive, being cut as proposed.
But Paul, let me ask you a question. On that tree, if that tree were to fall, where would that fall? Would it fall away from the house?
I think it would really depend on which way the wind is blowing at the time. Presumably, it would be driven by a windfall. But I think it could fall to the house.
Okay.
I don't
And
think
so-
I don't
and
think
so-
that's out of the question.
Okay.
And so
okay,
did
fair enough.
the tree so did the arborist made the same assessment that it potentially posed a risk to the home. I think we need to take that in serious consideration, and I think we should consider their proposal of cutting it at the height that takes it out of risk for the home.
Jim, I'd just like to say one thing, just in general.
Yeah.
And Paul, no offense to you. When the homeowner contacts an arborist is going to try and sell them a certain service. So they might be saying that, yeah, this could fall on the home because they're trying to get money to cut it down. I think we
Well, I
got to
don't
think
know that
about
the
that too.
arborist
So then
is-
are we assuming that the homeowner's a liar? Is that how
Oh
we're
my
going
God,
to
Scott,
treat
I'm
people
not
that are
saying
bringing
that
it
at
to the
all.
commission? But
No, Scott,
the point
I'm
of
trying.
it, either we believe we required this family to hire Paul because we have a difficult and convoluted process. They additionally hired experts to come out and do an evaluation, which again, we required. So we have now required this family to spend time and money in order to satisfy the requirements of this board. They have
Well, it's
provided
not-
us that information.
Yes, but it's not the requirements of this board, it's the requirements of the law. We have a bylaw that we're supposed to uphold. So it's not just us
And the
willy-nilly
bylaw
saying
says
that
that we
we
cannot
have
take into
to.
consideration to cut the tree at a height that does not pose a risk to the family.
I don't think it is going to cause a risk to the family, and that's, we're
So
trying
you're
to
making a
determine that.
decision without taking on any of the potential consequences of your decision. I do not support
Yes,
that.
let's put it that way. Yes.
All right.
Okay, so let's take a vote, right? And let me open this up to any other commission members. Anyone else have any questions or comments?
Can we lighten the load of the top of the tree so that there's less chance of the tree coming down, as long as it's not, you thin it out a little bit, there's less likely for it to fall.
Well, it is proposed to top it at 29 feet. So that would in addition to eliminating the possibility that it would hit the house if it fell that way, by topping it like that, it would be less likely to fall in general.
Because you have less force again, if any breeze is coming through, you have less resistance to any wind. So unless the tree is diseased at the base, it's less likely to fall if you take the weight off the top.
I agree with that.
And Paul, all these snags are actually quite tall. So, and most of these trees will likely still be alive and continue to grow, I presume.
I would expect so, especially the maples.
Yeah, because I've done the same in my backyard, and voila, it came back. I was a little surprised. So, I think we need to think about that too, that they will continue to grow and maybe grow a little weirdly in the future, so we don't create another obstacle.
They will look strange. I mean, my neighborhood in Holden after the ice storm looked like all the trees looked like sea urchins after the ice storm.
Yeah.
And this will look a little bit like that.
So I think we need to think about how we decide here. Also, like what happens 10, 15 years from now, right? Do they need to come back to the table or not because of that?
You'll just have new trees coming along. And I'm not saying do a clear cut right across the top. I'm saying you take out bigger limbs that, any kind of, regular pruning of a tree, that you're taking the weight off the top is less likely to fall over because it has less resistance to any kind of wind force.
That's
Without making the tree look gaudy afterwards.
Okay, so I think what I'm hearing is that we should leave 10, cut 10 down per Paul's plan here with a 29-foot snag. Is that what I'm hearing? It sounds like that's what we're all leaning.
I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, some sort of trimming of the tree would be okay with me.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay, Lori?
I'm fine with that. And if just the weight can be taken off without doing a clear cut, all the better.
Okay. Okay, so it sounds like we're in agreement. Anyone have any other questions or comments?
I think you need to open it to the public too, Jim.
Yeah, is anyone from the public here to comment on this hearing? Seeing none. Okay, so
Hey, Jim, it looks like
I had my hand up.
oh,
I had
Okay.
my hand up. Who is Rebecca?
Rebecca's the Bolton Conservation Agent.
Okay. So typically with an arborist, because I'm assuming I have a science background, arborists also have a science background. Everything that we do, right, comes with like this whole little formula or guidelines or something for every decision that we come to. So because I'm listening to just kind of sort of responding back to Sue, where you had made the comment that the arborist is going to want to cut the tree down. the arborist should have some kind of data or something to back up what their recommendation is. My expectation is if Rebecca is saying that she's not going to cut that, she doesn't want the tree to cut down, that she will also be able to back it up with some kind of data or some kind of reasoning why the tree shouldn't be cut down. So I'm curious. I mean, I know you guys have already come to a decision, but I'd be curious to see like what the rationale was, like what's the science behind Sue's decision making or Rebecca's decision making. Sorry to put your name in there, Sue.
Yeah, so Rebecca, as I said at the beginning of this hearing, the criteria was, it was her determination that if that tree fell, it wouldn't fall on the house. It was leaning the other way. It was leaning away from the house.
But then I'm assuming that she has like a degree of angles, right? Something was measured to come to that determination.
I don't think anyone does that. I think there's some subjectivity, there's a subject matter expert that can look at a tree and determine how it's leaning. And she made the judgment that if this tree were to fall, it would fall away from the house. It's not that complicated when it comes to that particular tree. And you can look at a tree leaning and you can figure out which way it's going to fall based on how it's leaning.
Well, I mean, but that's a little concerning because I mean, it's not, because then you're putting way too much subjectivity and way too much bias into making the decision making.
I don't agree with that. It's not that complicated. It's
Jim?
just simply not. Go ahead. So you're a subject matter expert.
Yeah, so Marilyn, I'm a landscape contractor by
Okay.
profession. I have a little bit of background with tree work. So when an arborist goes out, they're not necessarily doing angles and measurements either. They're sort of looking at the tree, and if they're trying to figure out which way a tree might fall, they're also going to be looking at the tree, the sort of tree health. Is it diseased? Does it
Yeah.
look diseased? That sort of thing. But a lot of these things are just kind of visual, subjective, view. It's not so scientific as you think it would be. So just for some background there.
Okay.
I think that's a fair characterization for the record.
Okay. Any other comments?
So can I just be clear, Mr. Chairman, of where I think you're at is that 10 would be a snag at 29 feet. 4 and 7 could either be a snag or flush cut, and everything else is according to my table.
Yeah, I'm going to say it a different way, Paul. Everything is
Okay.
according to your table, except I'm going to just leave it as everything's according to your table. Okay. 4 and 7, you can flush cut.
Okay.
So everything according to the table, except 4 and 7, you can flush cut if you want, or you can leave it as a snag.
Got it.
Does that make
Thank you.
sense?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone have any other questions, comments? Okay, I would like to make a motion that we close the public hearing for 113 Burnham Road, map 5D, parcel 39. Do I hear a second to close the hearing?
Second,
All those in favor say aye, starting with Lori,
I,
Sue,
aye.
Paul,
I,
Scott,
Aye.
and I am an aye as well. I would like to make a motion that we issue a -3 finding for 113 Burnham Road with the following conditions. Tree removal shall be per the Ecotech plan dated 1/5/26 as drafted and discussed in tonight's meeting, with the following addition. Tree 4 and 7 can either be left as a snag or flush cut. Do I hear a second?
Second,
All those in favor say aye, starting with Lori,
I,
Sue,
aye.
Paul,
I.
Scott,
Aye.
and I am an aye as well, Lauren.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll
Thanks,
see you in a
Paul.
few minutes for
Yeah.
the international. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. What time are we? Okay, the Bolton Conservation Commission will now continue the public hearing regarding a notice of intent under provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and under Bolton Wetland Bylaw, Chapter 233, 4443 Still River Road, map 8B, parcel 32. A member of the Conservation Commission is directly involved in this project and will need to recuse himself from the discussion. Scott, could you please recuse yourself?
Yep, this is Scott Gear. I recuse myself from this conversation as the property owner.
Okay,
No, from the commission, not from the discussion, excuse me.
okay. Is it Margaret?
Yeah, Margaret is here.
Is your agent, right?
Yes.
Hi, Margaret.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, I'm just trying to start the video.
Okay.
Well, there's a picture of me. You can hear me okay?
We can hear you fine. That'll work.
Okay,
So Margaret, you submitted a narrative.
correct.
Could you walk us through that narrative, please?
Yeah, so I was asked to prepare a narrative and a description on how this project's going to meet the performance standards. And there's other towns that I work in that also have designated aura areas. And I've kind of based my responses similar to what I've done in other towns when it comes to these buffer zone resource areas. So basically, I in the narrative, I wrote the description of what we were doing, what we have done, and how we've tried to minimize impacts on this site. Now, obviously, everything in this site is in the buffer zone or the aura. So there's really no other place on this property to put any of our objectives anywhere else than where we have them proposed. And that's the proposed pool, the proposed in-law apartment, and the shed. Now, since our original filing, a lot of the design has been reduced quite a bit. The pool house has been removed, and now the gears are just going with an in-ground pool that the size of the pool has been reduced. The in-law apartment is important for their elderly father that they're trying to move into the house, but they removed the front porch on the in-law apartment to help reduce impacts. So, and then we've on the last meeting or the last revised plan I sent, the years are, willing to do a lot of whatever they can for mitigation measures. Now, I thought they came up with quite a few regard, what they can do within that site. And some of it's, stormwater management, wildlife habitat. What else did they do? Stormwater management, include additional solar panels, and remove some old barbed wire fence that's in the woods. I mean, these are all things that are an improvement to existing conditions. So they're looking at using those as mitigation measures because there's really nothing else that we can do. They've reduced the size of their project and they've added a lot of mitigation on the site.
Okay, anything else?
Basically, we avoided and minimized everything to the maximum we can, with them still being able to meet the objectives of their plan. There's really not much more we can eliminate than what they have. They reduce everything quite a bit. And I don't know if Scott wants to mention anything, or Marilyn, but.
No, I think at this point where it would be interesting to hear from the commission. We've been doing, this has been going on since prior to September. I think September was our first formal hearing, but we've been going back and forth. And every time a recommendation in an effort that's come from the commission that they've asked us to do, we've tried to do it, and then we get new ones. So I'd like to get some feedback on where we sit with this proposal and what is the path forward.
Okay. So from my perspective, I look at this as how does this relate to the Wetlands Protection Act and the Bolton bylaw? right? So and the Bolton bylaw is more stringent than the Wetlands Protection Act. So if I'm going to focus on the Bolton bylaw, right? So I'm going to use some numbers here, right? If we just look at the bylaw specifically, and we look at the performance standard 302, right, which is adjacent upland resource area, that's really the performance standard, because everything is in the buffer zone, right? The entire project is in the buffer zone. So if I go down and just look at the buffer zone, I mean, look at the Wetlands Protection Act, the Bolton Wetlands Protection Act. I look at 1.012, the purpose. Protect wetland interests, this conservation and protection of all resource areas under the bylaw, including no net loss of functions which contribute to the protection of the interests. And then number 2, the conservation and protection includes no net loss of resource area under the bylaw, except that the commission may permit loss in the resource area if accepted in the bylaw, which is section 233-3. So if I jump down to section 3, which is where all the data is, if you will. If I look at 302.3b, replication shall be within the reach of the wetland system and shall improve bylaw resource interests. The narrative within components, impact avoidance and impact minimization in the provided narrative that they are unable to provide replication on site due to the limitations of the lot. And this is per Margaret's narrative. So that's 302.3b. If I look at 302.3c, replication of resources of the aura shall be stabilized and functional within 2 growing seasons from when they are disturbed. The narrative reflects within components impact avoidance and impact minimization in the provided narrative that they're unable to provide replication on site due to the limitations. Again, unable to meet this standard. So unable to meet 302.3b, unable to meet 302c. Look at 302.3d. Any portion of the ore disturbed by temporary or limited action shall be at minimum restored to the original condition of the site within 2 growing seasons from when they are disturbed. Again, the narrative does not meet this standard. If I look at 303d, proposed work shall not cause any significant adverse effect or cumulative side effects on the interests identified. Again, they are not able to meet the standard as a permanent impervious altercation on site removes the area from the protected resource area states permanently, creating a significant adverse effect. And then the last one, 302.3d, there shall be no increase in impervious surface in the aura. And again, this standard cannot be met with the current plan. So from just purely looking at the bylaws and looking at the performance standards, this, in my opinion, this project does not meet those standards. That's
so Jim, can I ask a question?
Sure.
So understand, oh, go ahead, Paul. I'm sorry.
This is the commission needs to discuss first, and then we'll open it up to the public.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to open up to commission members.
Jim, if you've got a few minutes, I've got a bunch of thoughts on this project.
Sure.
So I came into this project I'm not understanding any of the kind of history on the property. I think I've been with commission maybe a year now, but I did take it upon myself to go back through viewing the recordings of Concom meetings going back to 2015 and 2018. Those are online on Bolton Access TV. So I'm just trying to understand what the past concerns were with this site. So this site started out as an agricultural field. In meetings from, again, 2015 and 2018, several people that lived in the area kind of described this property as being just rather wet. Originally, residents from, let's see, the west side of Still River Road noted that there was a stream running through their property that runs under Still River Road into a shallow marsh with wetlands around it. And that wetlands, the buffer for those wetlands is where the proposed addition is going in. In 2015, this started out as a proposed 5-bedroom house. The engineering firm that was hired for this layout had stated that the water table was down about 30 inches. And because of that, they actually needed to bring in soil to raise the whole house up. It was during that meeting that Brian, who was a commission member back then too, Brian had asked whether building a smaller 4-bedroom house would be better, since it was in the buffer zone. Fast forward to, now we have a house it was permitted, it was built. There was a site visit back in October. Following that site visit, I think Brian did note that the area by the intermittent stream was fairly wet, even though we were in the middle of a drought. And so going back to Rebecca's notes, she covers a number of points. And what's most notable to me is that there can't be any additional impervious surface introduced into the aura, which is basically the entire property. And if this commission approves that, then that area is just taken out of conservation forever. I calculated the total impervious area to be 2,300 square feet, but it's that volume of soil that needs to be removed for the different parts of this project that is really my concern. That's for the excavation of the pool, excavation for the patio, and excavation assuming there's a slab foundation for the addition. It's not including anything for the tool shed. I don't know what's underneath that. So I'm calculating the amount of soil that needs to come out to be at least 8,300 cubic feet, or 307 cubic yards. And to put that into perspective, if you can imagine a 18-wheel dump truck, like a tractor trailer dump truck, it's about 10 of those. And that volume of soil, even though it's lawn right now, that soil is still providing certain functions. It's reducing runoff by soaking up rainwater. It's filtering that water before it hits the resource area. And it's allowing the wetlands that's surrounding the property to absorb more water during a flooding situation. That soil is also a nutrient sink, and it's a carbon sequestration medium. And these two last points are really important when we're talking about making sure that the site is climate resilient. So with all of that, I think it's really important that we keep a fully intact, fully functioning buffer zone. And adding more impervious surfaces to this will just negatively affect this site. So for the project as it is right now, I would just reject all of it. None of it should go in.
Okay. Sue, thank you for that detailed analysis. Appreciate it. Other commission members? Comments? Paul or Lori? Any comments?
Was the original house that was going to be a 5-bedroom, was it dropped to a 4-bedroom?
I believe it was. I assume that's what Scott and Marilyn are living in now.
If I may, it's currently a 4-bedroom design, but the septic's a 5-bedroom. And on the original plans back then, that addition was approved, that they didn't build.
I don't think that's the case. That's not my understanding.
No, it was part of the original approved design. It was brought down because this has been upon a conversation on several occasions, Jim. And why it's not relevant now is because since the original design, the commission promoted the additional 25-foot buffer zone that the city ended up passing. So that moved it into the box, but the addition is within the original house box that was approved.
Under the old bylaws.
Under the old bylaws, correct.
Okay.
The house was built under the old bylaws.
Right. Okay. Any other questions, Laurie or Paul? Okay, seeing none, let me open it up to the public. Anyone from the public here to comment?
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
What is different aside from there being less impact to the environment, more offsets than from what was proposed 6 months ago? Because I'm curious why I have been required to continue this process, being told that if you just do a little bit more, it's going to get approved, to now here saying that this never would have gotten approved, which could have been told to us 6 months ago. So I'm trying to understand how we can say that we have entered this into in an honest process, when from what I'm hearing and what I'm reading is indicating to me that the commission never intended to improve this, and that we have just delayed this over time, forcing me to continue to spend money, forcing me to take resources that I could have used to offset the poor living conditions that my father-in-law is currently living in, the dangerous conditions he's currently living in, to now so far down the road, and now don't have those resources that I could have used to done. So I'm trying to understand why this conversation wasn't happened 6 months ago, when I was told that if you submit the plan and you do these things, and oh, if you move the house over here, if you get rid of the porch, the pool's too big. But now I'm being told that nothing goes in to include a 10-foot by 15-foot shed.
Jim, can I answer that?
Sure.
So when the process started, we needed to gather more evidence of what exactly needed to be, what exactly was going in, and what mitigation strategies you could come up with. I don't think it's fair to say that we weren't willing to entertain any of it. I was certainly willing to go with just the addition, but after seeing the mitigation strategies and the narrative that Margaret put together, and then seeing Rebecca's comments on that, at this point, no, like it just doesn't make sense with our bylaws the way they are.
So it's
So
coming back to the no non-permeable
Yes.
surfaces can be added. That was the bylaws when we started this process in September.
Right, but
Okay.
if
So
we
I was told that if we just paid a professional, if we just continued on this process, that we could get to a point where we would potentially have some sort of compromise where we could have this ADU for my father-in-law. And
Yes.
we were told that you might as well just do it all at once. But now what I'm hearing is it was never going to happen at all, because at the end of the day, the roof is a non-permeable surface and it is in the aura.
Yes, but the active word there is potentially, and we didn't know that back then.
I'm sorry, say that again, Stu. I didn't hear that.
You said potentially, and yes, potentially was always, it was potentially going to be able to go through, but now it's not. Had we just voted on it then, I'm almost positive it would have just been a no.
Okay. And
Right.
I'm asking what's changed. So what can I do that would have changed that result? What could I have done 5 months ago that would have changed the result?
I don't know. I don't have that answer for you. We did
Okay.
look at mitigation strategies.
And I don't have
and
the $15,000 to $20,000 that this commission has required me to spend to get to this point where we've never left the starting point, because we're back to the point of you can't have a roof.
And you
Okay.
can't have a person living without a roof. I just want to point out that really simple fact.
But we're looking,
Okay,
understood, but right, but we're looking at the bylaws, right?
Okay.
Now, you understood what the bylaws were, Scott, back in April. You knew what the bylaws were. Before you were on this commission, you knew what the bylaws were. We're following the bylaws. We're not making decisions based on emotions or feelings. We're making the decision based on bylaws, and we're looking at the bylaws, we're looking at your project, We asked for a narrative. It took a month for the narrative, 3 weeks for the narrative. We were trying to see and figure out how we could make this work. But the narrative says we can't meet these performance standards.
Okay, so
So
how do I
we
meet
can't
these,
meet the performance.
how do I meet the performance standards, Jim?
You can't based on
can't.
your lot. And you know
Okay.
that, Scott.
And then you knew that when we started this process in September, but
we were
you
trying
still
to-
made us go through. No, you didn't try, Jim.
Yes, we did.
That's not,
Yes, we followed the process and
The
we
pro-
tried
the
to
process
figure
is
out how to
what?
make this work.
okay.
You
So
submit
I have
plans.
provided impacts to offset to the greatest extent possible. We have attempted to minimize the impact. And we are doing all the mitigations, things that are possible. And all
Yes.
those, we're being told that that's insufficient, which is, would have been really nice for me, this commission to have the consideration, the compassion for its residents, to make that assessment and have that open and honest conversation 6 months ago. So when I decided to spend $20,000 in order to meet the needs of this commission, I could have made a more educated decision on whether or not that was a worthwhile investment.
I can't,
Who
I
would we
can't,
submit, who would we submit a FOIA to?
I'm sorry.
A
What?
FOIA. Who do I submit a FOIA to?
You
I
mean
don't
a
know.
Freedom of Information Act?
Yes, because I'd like to get
For what?
I'd like to get well, I just am very,
Well,
I would like to read back over several years, decisions from this commission. So also concerning my case, but I just want to go back and I just want to see a level of consistency when it comes to decisions being made. So
Um,
I would like to know, who do I submit this FOIA to? Because I am also like Scott, right? I could have taken this money and I could have tried to, I don't know, do something different. Because like I keep saying, every time I come here, there is a legit human cost to every time we push this off. Okay. I have an elderly parent who can't live by themselves, and they're currently living by themselves in a different country. So just to make my life easier, who do I submit the FOIA to so I can start figuring out the process? To how do I still find a way to get some kind of living situation for my elderly parent?
So
Under my
Laura, I
roof.
believe
Yeah,
that
I
all
will
of the-
say, Marilyn,
ahead,
in
Laura.
terms of seeking a public records request, you can submit that through the town clerk and specify what exactly you are looking for in terms of documents, and then we can provide that to you. So that would be through the town clerk at the town
Through the
hall.
town clerk. And then are you guys aware of the new ADU law that's coming into effect on February 2nd for 2020, for this new coming year?
Well, Bolton passed
Yes.
an ADU law before the state of Massachusetts did.
Well, the ADU law, how does this law apply to me so that I can get a living accommodation for my father?
You have to meet the Bolton bylaws.
yes.
It's
I
that
can't change the
simple.
Bolton bylaws.
I know you can't.
So
So-
Jim,
Can I?
so Jim, Bolton law does not supplant state law. So Marilyn, we will take that outside and we'll see what the law says and we'll see how it applies and we'll take it with the appropriate agency, because that isn't this commission.
So,
But city law does not override state law. And that's the reason why the state added this ADU law, was to prevent cities from making it unaffordable and erroneous for affordable homes and for cases such as this. That's specifically why this law was written, was for cities like Bolton.
can I make just pointing something out? So I think, yes, ADU, like the state law, can be higher than the Bolton's law, but for the purposes of this commission, if you're going to build something outside of your current footprint of the home, it's still got to pass Bolton's wetland bylaws.
Well, we'll see what the ADU law
But-
says about that. So
Okay, hang on. Just let me talk. So one other option that you could look at is, what about turning your garage into your live-in unit? Put your vehicles outside.
Dude, we're two disabled veterans. You think we're going to go slipping and sliding outside?
I mean, you're not the first people who would be forced to have their vehicles outside. So I'm just
I am
trying to give you an
no,
option.
and
I'm not.
I appreciate that. And if I lived
Okay.
in Florida, that would be something that would be very viable for me. Absolutely. But in Massachusetts, in this climate, it would not. And especially for my father, because right, at least right now, right, like he is still driving, for the time being. He also is not going to be able to go outside to try to warm up his car or go across an icy parking lot. That's just that would finish him off right there. If I lived in a different climate, sure. Maybe in 100 years when Massachusetts looks like Florida, sure. But right now, it's not an option.
Okay, any other comments?
Yeah, one last question.
Sure.
Who do we appeal this to? Who does this commission report to?
Lauren can walk, there's an appeal process.
Okay, thank you.
And Lauren, you can walk Scott through the appeals process, right? You familiar with that?
Yeah, I don't have that information right now off the top of my head, but I can follow up with you,
Okay.
if you need that.
Yeah, and if you can make that follow-up as part of the official record as well, because this is being requested as part of the official meeting, I'd appreciate that, because that should be available to anybody that comes in.
Sure.
So,
Yep, and that'll be noted in the meeting minutes as well
Okay,
as part of this
thank you. I
conversation.
appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay, any other comments?
Yeah, could I say one other thing here?
Sure.
I know in the very beginning of this process, when I was asked to do this project and I took a look at the Bolton bylaws, and I realized how extensive they were, and they are pretty extensive compared to most towns, and complex. There's an awful lot in here, and I don't know if every one of you have gone through all these requirements and these bylaws, and it's almost, I guess depending upon the project, but it's almost impossible to develop if you're in the buffer zone. But with that said, in the very beginning, because of the complexity of this bylaw and the unknowns and the cost that it was going to cost the client to move forward with engineering and survey services, we did ask to meet with the commission informally so we could discuss this. So we could get a better feel for, what would be required. And it would have been nice at that time, they could have told us, no, you haven't got a shot at all. So we did try. We did try, and we said, no, you had to go ahead and file the official notice of intent, and that's where the expense comes in. So we made the effort.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Will that comment be made part of the official record?
Yeah, this is recorded on Zoom, so it's all on record.
And so one other thing, I'm just gonna, is the commission planning on voting tonight? And are the gears ready to want that vote, or do we want to just pause and just make sure before we go close the hearing that that's the course of action we want, or is they've got no shot at getting the in-law apartment?
I'm going to make a motion. We're going to close the hearing and we're going to vote, Margaret, and we'll see how the commission votes. Okay, any other questions, comments? Okay, I would like to make a motion that we close the public hearing for 443 Still River Road, map 8B, parcel 32, DEP file number 112-0764. Do I hear a second to close the hearing?
Second.
All in favor, say aye, starting with Lori.
Aye.
Sue?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. Lauren? I would like to make a motion that we deny the NOI for 443 Still River Road, map 8B, parcel 32, DEP file number 112-0764, as it does not meet the Bolton bylaws, section 101, 2B, section 302, 3B, section 302, 3C, section 302, 3D, and section 302, 3D1. Do I hear a second for denying the NOI for 443 Still River Road?
Second.
All in favor say aye, starting with Lori.
I'm going to abstain. I was not here for a lot of this, and I honestly could not give an honest opinion either way.
Okay, thank you. Sue,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
and I am an aye as well, Lori. Lauren, sorry. Okay, thank you. The Bolton Conservation Commission will now open the public hearing regarding request for determination of applicability under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 113, Section 40, and the Bolton Wetlands Bylaw, Chapter 233, for 159 Ballville Road, Escalante International Golf Club, LLC, Map 5A, Parcel 20. Applicant is proposing the construction of several cottages and seeking confirmation that the proposed project is not located in any wetlands or associated buffer zones. And there's a subsequent RD that has been submitted. Lauren is the applicant here, and I see Paul raising his hand.
Hi, Mr. Chairman. Paul McManus from Ecotech. Also on is Michael Galvin, who's the general manager at the International. As you said, Mr. Chairman, this is a request for determination relative to an area where the International proposes to build some guest cottages up near Ballville Road. And I had evaluated the site, concluded my opinion was that there were no wetland resources. The request or recommendation came from the town to formalize that process and file the request for determination. So that's what we're doing. I've submitted my evaluation. I initially submitted a report dated December 12, which was based on a December 9 site walk. In that report, I acknowledged there was an inch or two of snow at the time I did that site walk. So I submitted a revision to that dated December 23, which noted a December 22 site inspection that I did with Rebecca and Lauren, commission staff, as well as Michael Galvin. So basically it's my opinion. Lauren can speak to the opinion that she had with Rebecca, but my opinion is that there are no wetlands on the site. It's basically upland forest. There's a little bit of there's a partially paved, partially gravel construction driveway that runs through, and it bumps into the parking lot for the former conference center out there. So again, in my opinion, all very clearly uplands. I can try again to share a locus if you'd like.
Yeah, why don't you see if you can pull that up, Paul, and while we're waiting. So Rebecca and Lauren did go on site. They did a site visit, and the rationale for doing that site visit when they did it was because there was no snow on the ground at the time. So that would give them a better appreciation of whether there was wetlands or not. And they concluded that they did not observe strong wetlands indicators, soils, or vegetative species within the locus during the site visit. Okay, there we go.
Are you able to see that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So again, this is Ballville Road is here. Obviously, this is the Oak Trail subdivision up here. This driveway here is the main driveway into the International. This is that construction access, and this little driveway here on the USGS is a little loop road. That conference center building used to be here, is now taken down. So again, this is the locus, and I'm happy to go into more details about what I found, but as I said, it's basically upland forest, with the exception of this driveway and a little bit of this this loop driveway back here.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any questions. I agree that there's no wetlands. There's no resource areas in this particular project. But let me open it up to other commission members. Other commission members have questions, comments?
Just a quick question. just as more of a curiosity than anything, is the proposal for cottages, are these homes or are they going to be something else?
There, Michael, you want to jump on and answer that?
They're just going to be for our members. They're just seasonal cottages
Okay.
that will close down once the golf season closes down around November.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone have any other questions, comments? Seeing none. Anyone here from the public that would like to comment on this project? Not seeing any. Okay, I would like to make a motion that we close the public hearing for 159 Ballville Road, Escalante, the International Golf Club, map 5A, parcel 2.0. Do I hear a second to close the hearing?
Second?
All in favor, say aye, starting with Lori,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Paul,
Abstain.
Scott.
Aye.
Okay. I would like to make a motion that we issue a -1 and a -6 finding for 159 Ballville Road, Escalante, the International, map 5A, parcel 2.0. Do I hear a second for issuing a -1 and a -6 finding?
Second?
All in favor, say aye, starting with Lori,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
and I am an aye as well.
All right, great. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Take care. Okay, up next is the continued discussion for the Tom Dennehy Nature Camp 2026. So I believe, Scott, you had a couple questions from last meeting about fees. There is a fee for attending the camp solely contained by the Bolton Conservation Trust, and the Bolton Conservation Trust does not pay any of those fees to the Bolton Conservation Commission. So I think that was the first question regarding fees. It goes to Bolton Conservation Trust. And I believe your other question was around insurance, and the Bolton Conservation Trust has their own insurance for the camp. So any other questions? Okay. This is a roll call vote. So I'd like to take a roll call vote to give permission to the Bolton Conservation Trust to hold the Tom Dennehy Nature Camp at Bower Springs for 2026. All those in favor say aye, starting with Lori,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
and I am an aye as well, Lauren.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next up is FY27 budget goals. So let me try and share my screen here. Let me bring try and bring that into CR and then continue to focus on agricultural land to try and bring those in, I think it's agricultural reserve. So those were the three goals. Do anyone have any other goals that we want to talk about or discuss that we want to focus on for this year? Anyone? Are we good with these? I'm going to suggest that we continue these in the order that they're in. Does that make sense?
Oh, works for me.
Same.
Okay, I guess I think this is Lauren, is this a roll call vote to?
Yes, this would be a roll call vote.
Okay, I'd like to make a roll call vote to accept the FY27 goals and budgets, with the first goal being adopt CPA funding opportunity, the second goal being Bower Dam maintenance, and the third is land preservation / conservation as outlined in the document that was on our shared drive. All in favor, say aye, starting with Lori.
Aye.
Sue.
Aye.
Paul.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
And I am an aye as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. I don't think there's no enforcement updates. I think we're still waiting on 30 North Road, Lauren, for a
Yep.
plan, an engineering plan.
Yes, Matt Morrow, the representative for the project, has been in touch with us, with Rebecca and I, and I think he reached out maybe yesterday. The engineer is still working on that plan, but it is in progress right now. So that should be coming, I would say, by the end of this month.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Meeting minutes, did everyone get a chance to review this is the December 16th, 2025 meeting minutes? Anyone have any updates?
I have a comment, Jim.
Sure.
Let me pull it up so I can reference it.
Sure.
So on page, page 5 or subcom 5 in regards to the continued notice of intent for the 443 Stover Road, which again, I'll state for the record is my property. Second to last sentence, or excuse me, the last sentence said Scott stated, well, no, I'm sorry. Second to last sentence says Brian stated the commission can move forward with taking a vote at this evening's meeting if the applicant would like to do so. And then the final sentence says Scott said that they will continue until the next meeting on January 6th. There's a section missing between those two comments, because what was said was we could hold the vote if you want, but it won't go good for you. And my response was, that sounds like a threat. We will stand by and we will come back the following week. So if I'm being quoted in there, I think it's appropriate that we capture the entire statement that was made.
Okay. So Lauren, could I ask you if you could update the meeting minutes? We'll vote on the next meeting when everyone gets to review it. Does that make sense?
Yes, I think that's a good idea to hold off, make those changes, and then bring it back at the next meeting.
Okay. Okay, good. Thank you. Let's see. I don't have any information on Forest Legacy Program, DCR Cost Share Program, Trail Stewardship Authorization. It looks like the volunteer land steward position is still open. There's no more room on the Conservation Commission. That's all I had. Did I miss anything, Lauren?
Yeah, I will say we have a little bit of an update on the DCR cost share program for the Taggart Forest Land parcel. Our forest consultant has submitted a draft forest management plan for that. And Rebecca and I plan to go out on a site walk with the forest consultant this upcoming Monday. And I believe Rebecca intends to send an email out to the commission. So if anyone would like to join that site walk, you're welcome to. So that should be sent out sometime this week with that information.
Excellent.
Lauren, is it possible also to have the relevant documents for that site walk to be accessible?
I
So
would
that I
think
can-
so. I know it's just in draft form,
Okay.
but I'll confirm that with Rebecca to make sure that that would be okay.
Okay, yeah, just having some context heading into the site visit would be very helpful. Thank you.
Sure. Yep.
Great, thank you, Laura.
Yep.
Okay, anyone have any other business want to discuss? Okay, seeing none. I would like to make a motion that we hereby adjourn the January 6th, 2026 meeting of the Bolton Conservation Commission. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye, starting with Lori.
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Scott,
Sorry if I can find my mute button. Aye.
and Lauren, I am an aye as well.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank
Have
you.
a good night.
All right, have a
Good
good
night.
night.
Aye.
Bye.